Hey guys, it's John Moore with the Texas College Football Show, and we're doing the game of the week for week 2 in the Texas College Football Show game of the week, and we're going to do Baylor coming to SMU. And joining me right now, we're trying to get both these guys on. Schedules can happen sometimes, and we couldn't get Garrett and Scott on. It's Scott Garner, who is the who is the color analyst for the SMU Mustangs. Scott, I know the week's been hectic. I appreciate you taking time. Hey, this one's going to be fun. What do you think?
Going to be a great time. I mean, I'm just earlier today just watching a little bit of Baylor from last week play Auburn, and boy, Auburn sure is good. And Baylor did a lot right. You know, they threw for over 400 yards, and they didn't run for very much, but they've got a good team.
Yeah, they do have a good team. And before we get going, guys, we're going to hit that subscribe button down below. I'm going to do a quick trivia question. I'm going to play it in Scott's segment. We got Garrett coming on later to do the Baylor side of this. I'll give the answer at the end of that. Here is a question. I want you to guys, Scott, if you know this, don't answer it. It's the game of the week trivia question. What former South Oak Cliff High School quarterback not only played for SMU, but for the Kansas City Chiefs for 12 years? Not many people know that. Scott, if you don't know it, I'll tell it to you when we get off the air there. Go down to that comment section down below, guys. Put the answer down there. May have a prize for you if somebody can get that right. If nothing else, you'll get some bragging rights. Let's go back to Scott here. Do you know who that is?
Not sure. I need to think a little bit harder.
Okay. Look, it goes way back. So I'll give it to you later.
We'll talk off the air, yeah.
Okay, so here we go. So let's talk about where and when this game is, guys. This game is coming up. It's this Saturday, September 6th. It's at 11 a.m. Central. It is SMU hosting the Baylor Bears at Ford Stadium. It's on the CW network. SMU is favored by 3 points, and the total is 60.5 over and under. Scott, where do you see these numbers? Do you think the line's got it right?
I tell you, I'm looking. The first thing that seems striking to me is the total 60.5. I think that's about right. And only because, Baylor gave up 38 points to Auburn. That's a ton of points.
Yep.
Auburn ends up with 415 yards, but they ran for 307. I could not believe that. And
yeah,
I'm going, what happened in this game? And so I've got to pull this tape up as quickly as I can just to see this, because I had to work when that game was played live, so I watched it after the fact. But so I went back and I watched it, and I'd noticed, Baylor, they had some issues with their backers run fitting correctly and finding where to go and things like that. Safeties struggled to get to the point of attack on time. I thought the Baylor defensive front was actually pretty good, save for the fact that their ends sort of run up field and created some passing lanes. I thought for the Denton native Jackson Arnold, the former OU standout. But that's really one of the only things that one of the first things that struck me as odd watching Baylor. But it doesn't surprise me that Dave Aranda has been able to stick around there. I think Baylor's done it right. They could have easily made a change. They decide not to, and they went ahead stuck with Aranda, and I think he's got them on the right track.
Yeah, I'm worried if Dave's seat was getting a little warm. I think a lot of people thought that Baylor had a chance to win this game. Again, they thought it was a big test. I don't know if you did watch it all. Baylor played a great game. Don't get me wrong, but I kind of felt like Auburn kind of controlled that game.
They did. I agree with you. Go ahead.
So yeah, exactly what I said. I got to be honest, I was slightly disappointed in what I saw in Baylor. I had Baylor losing this game. We'll go over that in a minute to Auburn. But in fact, let's look at what happened last week. Baylor did lose to Auburn 38-24. The Mustangs went out and beat East Texas A&M on that one. But like you said, I just felt – I thought it was going to be a little bit closer than that. Ended up being a 2-score game. I thought Baylor – fumbled, they scuttled just a little bit there. I like Sawyer Robinson. He came out and threw the ball well, but he also had, all quarterbacks go through this. They have some down points, this and that. I really thought the Russian attack was not what is advertised. That Bryce Washington was supposed to be an amazing back. I don't know. Look, they are capable.
You know what was weird about that game? I was watching early, and they run some conventional option with that running back Washington, and he turns the corner but yet he doesn't get it into a third gear that 90% of running backs at this level are able to get to. I thought that was kind of odd. And I thought, well, maybe that's why Baylor only ran for 64 yards. So, you know, I think that may be an issue for them. I don't know. And maybe he's not 100%. I don't know. I haven't seen a whole lot of him. That's just what my eyes saw watching the film. But also, I was impressed with the Baylor offensive line. I thought they pass protected well early. Now, the Auburn defensive ends got after it late first quarter, early second quarter. There's no question. In fact, that right tackle for Baylor, he got bull rushed into Robertson, and it caused some havoc. And so I thought for the protection issues and the tackles, both tackles seemed to have some issues there in that game protecting. I thought for the issues that they had, I thought Robertson to throw for over 400 yards, and I could be wrong about this. I think he might have thrown for more yards than any other Division I quarterback last week. I think that's the case. I could be wrong.
Yeah, I've got it down here. We're going to go over it in just a second. When we get to the quarterback battle, we'll actually have those numbers when I bring that up. But you're right.
I was just for him to do what he did from a numbers standpoint, given the fact that the protection was not elite, just okay from the second quarter on, I thought that said a lot about him.
Yeah, it really did. And guys, I want to recap what I did. Now, I made this point when I did my countdown's already out for this week. There were a couple of changes in my top 13 down at the bottom, especially what Rice did winning a game. I bumped them up and all of that. Everything at the top stayed the same. I still have SMU as number 3 of the Texas schools coming into this game. I reserve the right, and I told people, and I've said it over and over, I reserve the right, even though I'm going to show every week what I predicted preseason, I also reserve the right to change my opinion as the season goes, but I'll always bring up preseason so you can make fun of me at where I was. But I may, you know, a prime example that I'm really fighting with, I have A&M losing to Notre Dame in a couple of weeks, but I'm hedging on that, wondering after watching the Notre Dame game, if and A&M also, we'll see what they do this week. Maybe A&M might win that game, and I might pick them to win that game. Not doing that yet, but I'm going to reserve the right to do that as the season goes because things change. Now, if we look at what the Mustangs preseason, I said I had the Mustangs going 10-2, and I had that win over East Texas A&M, which you guys went in there. We went over there a while ago, guys. Last week, East Texas A&M came.
If I may interrupt, John.
Yeah.
Hey, how good did Carson Beck look?
Yes.
My gosh. I you know, and I thought, how could you know, Georgia let him go? But you know, and I think that just came down. It was just a money race, and they showed him the money, and he decided to go. And I get it. That's where we're at now. You know, it used to be an arms race. All of these schools are trying to get the best facilities, the best indoor practice field, and all that. Now it's changed completely. And yeah, that's a nice stadium. How much am I getting? You know, so I think that's probably where that went. But I was really impressed with him. I thought Miami would be good. I didn't think they would be that good.
Yep. Okay. I agree. I did. I thought Beck looked far more impressive than he did in the SEC championship game. Now he only played a half there before he got hurt. Even in the first game when Beck played against Texas and some other times, he scuttled a little bit in the SEC last year. Boy, he looked like he may have found a home there. Now, like I was saying a while ago, I did have you guys beating East Texas A&M. You guys went out there and won 42. What was it? 42 to 13. Tell me about that game, Scott. What did you see in that game? I mean, obviously, you called the dogs off probably there coming in that second half. I watched part of it. I didn't get a chance to watch all of it. Who was impressive? What did they need to work on? What did you see there?
Well, first of all, going into last season, when SMU made the playoff, we had 7 receivers returning that were really, really good and proven. This year we had 2. We had Jordan Hudson, the TCU transfer, and we had Romello Brinson, who only played in 6 games last year, but really came on. I think he caught 5 balls for almost 100 yards against Clemson. And on the first play of the game, John, Jordan Hudson goes down with an injury.
Oh, no.
And we don't know if he's going to be back. I haven't heard anything. I know nothing. And, of course, Rhett Lashley, the head coach for SMU, hasn't said anything to the media or anything like that. So I'm sure they know, but they're not, you know, letting the cat out of the bag if there is a cat to be let out. So that they lose Hudson. Kilgore was going to be our number 1 linebacker, and he goes down. He gets an interception that landed off his foot, and he hacky sacked it to himself. He catches it, goes into the end zone, but twists his ankle going over the goal line, or at least that's what it looked like. He didn't play the rest of the game. He comes out. I think they saw him with a boot on and crutches. So losing your top wide receiver, your top linebacker. Did not like how that turned out, John.
Boy, that's not good. We hope some of the
No.
depth. We hope SMU has some depth there that can come into this.
Right.
I'm going to
Well,
I'm sticking to my guns with my prediction, and we'll do that later. But I hate injuries. Can't stand
I
them.
know it. Oh, next man up, next man. Well, that's fine, but the reality is it's very difficult to just expect a second stringer to come in and fill that void immediately, particularly when you're talking about we've got 4 wide receivers that are freshmen. And yes, they were going to start. Jalen Cooper was one of those, and he had a great game the other night. But East Texas A&M is not Baylor, so
Right.
a lot of these guys are unproven. Many of them are, and this is going to be a big game on Saturday for both programs, John.
I agree. I totally agree. Let's go to the quarterback battle. All right. Let's go to the quarterback battle real quick. We'll look at what they did last week. Also, it's Sawyer Robinson for Baylor against Kevin Jennings. We're going to talk about Kevin. Sawyer did go for 419 yards and 3 TDs. You said he looked like he did go over 400. Kevin was 22 for 30 with 260 yards, 2 TDs, 1 interception. How much of that game did he play at some point with you guys kind of pulling away, I'm assuming? Did we get some backups in later?
Only for like 1 or 2 series. I mean, Kevin played a lot of the game, and to me, that said, well, we need to get these young wide receivers.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Yeah, accustomed to game speed. Ordinarily you'd like to be able to pull a guy, to start the second half or maybe midway through the third quarter, but that was not the case with us. So, and I thought that was a little bit odd, but and I guess not really given the circumstances. But yeah, Jennings was 22 of 30, 260. 2 touchdowns. He had 1 bad pick on a slant route in the end zone where the wide receiver didn't fake to the outside and then cut to the inside. So he didn't freeze the cornerback, and they were just able to jump the route on him. It wasn't a good throw, but it wasn't a good route run either. And Lashley said as much after the game. So, it was just an okay performance, I thought, by Jennings. He wasn't exquisite by any stretch, and he's got to get better at the intermediate throws and things like that. But again, the biggest step for a team takes place from week 1 to week 2.
Yep.
So we're going to see that. But this is good. This Baylor team was picked 5th in the Big 12, and I thought they looked really good against Auburn at times.
I did too. I mean, there are 2 schools over the weekend, and I talk Texas schools, but when you talk about a couple of schools that woke some people up, I thought
it is.
I tell you what, it affects SMU in the fact that I wasn't expecting FSU to look the way it did. The ACC has been put on notice.
They've been put on notice. I think Miami and Florida State were the 2 best-looking ACC schools. After the second drive last night, North Carolina kind of they took a step back from me. I don't know about you, but
yeah,
even though Sonny's got that team rolling over in Fort Worth, but hey, I agree. I could not believe how good Florida State's front 7 were. My gosh. I couldn't believe it. I mean, after what we saw last night, after game 3, game 4 last year, they quit. I mean, let's not make any bones about it. So that it's a great program. Mike Norvell. He took it. I made the comment to Rich on our Facebook pregame show. I said, "There's nobody happier with a week 1 win than Mike Norvell was."
Absolutely.
And, man, I tell you, you know how much heat he took. I mean, the last 12 months have just been miserable, for him. But I was glad to see him get that win. Plus, it kind of knocks Alabama fans down a little bit. And I'm never sorry to see that.
I'm never sorry to see that either. Hey, as a UT fan, we look. You took your hat off, man.
Hey, you watched it. I'm going to ask you, John. I know you're a UT fan. You watched Arch the other day. Arch, man, I hadn't seen him play much.
Yeah,
but I'm sitting here going, why is his arm slot so low? Why is he throwing from the hip? What's going on? These are unconventional mechanics. I get on Twitter about halftime, and Fran Fraschilla, the basketball coach, he tweeted, is somebody supposed to be throwing sidearm like that? He didn't even say who it was. Everybody exactly who he was talking about. What's going on with that?
I don't cover the team, but I'll tell you right now, I was asking the same question. He wasn't forcing the ball downfield like I've seen him do it before. Hey, hats off to Matt Patrician. He disguised a bunch of coverages and really had Arch confused. let's see where this goes. You have every right as a UT fan to be a little concerned. But look, he's going to have 3 good weeks here. He's playing three teams that Texas don't even have to pass to beat them. They can just run the ball up and down the field on them. But I'm sure he's going to try to work some kinks out. He looked good against 2 teams that were obviously less talent last year. And when he started the 2 starts he had. So the numbers are probably going to be a little bit skewed. But I think this is what young quarterbacks do. Every young quarterback struggles. They have these games. I'm not ready to throw in the towel on him. I got to take my hat off to Matt Patricia and what he did with that defense. And look, Texas defense is keeping them in every game. That was pretty apparent on the way they played in that game, that they're going to keep them in it. And I said all along, before any of this Heisman hype, which I thought was really crazy that they were doing that, I said if Arch Manning can drive the bus with this defense, they should be competing for the national championship. But he's just got to drive the bus. All he's got to do is drop people off where they're supposed to go and pick up people where they're supposed to. He doesn't have to win the games. He's just got to be good. And then every once in a while, you ask him to step up in a big situation. I'm not worried about it right now. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I'm trying to.
Texas needed that game week 3, not week 1.
Yep, exactly. Luckily, they were still in it at the end. It was amazing that they were the way that they made some adjustments at halftime. They looked okay.
Arch looked better in the late second half. He looked.
Yeah, he sure did. It looked like he started making some of the throws we've seen him make. That touchdown was that one to the tight end down the left side was a dart.
Yes.
He's capable, but hey, when good defenses come up, you got to be worried. We'll see what happens. Okay, now listen, this is going to be an interesting question that I need to ask for you on this one. Players to watch on offense. I need to know who the SMU players to watch. If we've got the top wide receiver down, who are we looking for this week? Who are the guys we need to be keeping an eye on besides Kevin Jennings?
I'll tell you one guy I was really impressed with, and nobody's really talking about this guy, but TJ Harden, who is the UCLA transfer, filled the void at that running back spot, I thought, quite nicely. We had a couple of guys that were pretty impressive in that ball game, but Chris Johnson was good, Derek McFall was good, but I just really thought that TJ Harden was fantastic. Not necessarily by the numbers, but just in what he was able to do from a philosophy standpoint between the tackles. And you look at the numbers for him, and I thought that, who can complain about it? He had 42 yards on 8 carries, average over 5 a carry, had a long of 11, didn't score a touchdown, but didn't really have to in that ball game. I was pleased with his production. So watch him, number 27, the running back for the Mustangs, and we have to have Jalen Cooper step up. He's the Cibolo, Texas Steel High School product that we were talking about. He's number 10. He's a freshman wide receiver, playing the Army All-American game, mature guy. The game has slowed down for him. He's going to be good. He had the second most catches of any wide receiver next to Romello Brinson, who's all of a sudden now our number 1.
Yeah.
But Cooper's got 5 grabs. He had 5 grabs for 38 yards, was targeted 6 times, had 27 yards after the catch, which I thought was good. But also, he was able to take some pretty hard hits, and that A&M East Texas A&M secondary levied some pretty good hits to him. So he's going to have to show that he can take that punishment to be able to play in the ACC, and he's certainly going to have to do it this week coming up.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it sounds like some wide receiver is the question you have with losing the top wide receiver. Let's get these other guys to step up. And I don't care who you are. When you're coming out of high school, this game is faster. Not everybody's Ryan Williams at Alabama, who came in and looked like he'd been playing the game from it just doesn't happen that way. You've got to get caught up. It doesn't mean you're not good, but man, it's faster.
Yes, much faster.
Okay, what about defense now? So you've lost the linebacker, your top linebacker. Tell me some guys who have got to step up. Who are some guys that we need to keep an eye on?
Well, on the SMU side of the field, I don't think with Kilgore down, you've got to have Brandon Maizano step up, and Zakai Barker and Brandon Booker. Those 3 linebackers have got to be able to fill that void. There's no question about it. But I think, given what I saw with Robertson against Auburn the other day, this is going to be incumbent upon the back end of the SMU secondary. They can't rely on consistent pressure from the front 4 like we did last year, where you can make some mistakes on the back end and get away with it. Can't do that now. You've got to be able to execute from that cornerback position, and the A&M transfer I thought had a pretty good game the other day. Deuce Harmon was solid for the most part, but he gave some cushion, and I thought he got faked out a couple of times. Whereas last year we didn't see a lot of that from him. Late in the year, I thought he really got better. But the back end of the SMU defense has got to play well this week because our defensive front's good. It's completely new. We have nobody back from that defensive line. So I'm just telling you, the back end of the SMU secondary has got to be good this week.
Yep. Okay. Well, that leads us to what we want to do next. The keys to a victory. Keys to a victory on offense. Tell me what we're seeing SMU do this week to win this game. I've got them picked to win the game. Look, I've said all along with what Baylor did, and now you're telling me about the wide receivers. I'm sticking to my guns this week with SMU. I still got them. We'll talk about. I've got it close on my victory here. But tell me if SMU pulls this out, what have we seen? What's happened if SMU wins this game, which I think they will?
A lot of times time of possession is an overrated stat, but I think against this Baylor team, and I think just the way that SMU is going to have to play going forward, they want to play fast. There's no doubt about it, but they're going to have to run the football. And we ran it okay the other night against East Texas A&M, but 140 yards against a Division I opponent that's just now, the last couple of months, a full-blown FCS playoff eligible team. They're not what we're going to see on Saturday at home. And hey, remember, SMU has not defeated Baylor in 40 years.
Good Lord.
13 games. SMU, the last 13 games against Baylor is 0-13. The last time we played Baylor was I think we opened up McLean Stadium, in fact. I think we opened up McLean Stadium, if I remember correctly, and we lost 45-0, and it could have been 90-0. Baylor, we owe Baylor one, and man, our fans know it. I don't think anybody on that lineup, on that two deep, has any idea that we're 0 for our last 13 against these guys and haven't won since the 80s. But we owe them a bunch.
Yep.
If we need to win this game for a number of reasons. But as Rhett Lashley has said, the goal this year for SMU is to get back to the playoff. And for some, that may sound preposterous, but we were picked third in the league going into this season, and we had some pieces coming back, particularly the quarterback. And I did some research last week, and let me ask you a question, John. I'm going to put you on the spot here. Of the Power 4 teams, what percentage of Power 4 teams have their quarterback back?
Wow, it's low. You know what? It is low. So let's see. Your Power 4 conferences. You got the ACC, the Big 12, the Big.
If you just SEC. If you had to guess, what percent of quarterbacks are back? Would you say, on average?
30%.
It's about a little more than 35.
35%.
So one of every three is back. A little more than one of every three. And I found that to be a fascinating number. And we would talk all. Oh, we've got 42 new players. Well, the average now is between 40 and 50. Each team at the Power 4 level has between 40 and 50 new players. North Carolina had 70.
Yeah.
Going into that game last night. So, they said that about 10 times, I think, on the podcast. But that's just the way it is now. But I forget what we were talking about. But
let's go to the other side of the ball now that we got it up here. SMU has won this game. What's happened on defense?
The back end. You just cannot give up 400 yards of passing to these guys. Just can't do it. I know they didn't run that well, but they had the capability of doing it. That's why I think the SMU run game has got to be good. And the offensive line, I was really impressed that for the entire fall camp, they've been talking about how the SMU, Garrett Justice talking about the O-line coach talking about how the SMU offensive line is as athletic as any that they've had at SMU. And I'll say maybe going back to June Jones days, maybe in 15 years ago, we had a line that was more athletic. If we have, I don't know that I've seen it collectively, but we were running a lot of gap scheme stuff. We were pulling guards, we were pulling the center, we were doing a lot of things to create angles and to cause some havoc down there in the trenches. And I thought it really helped TJ Harden, the UCLA transfer. So we did a lot of the point I'm trying to make is we did a lot of pulling with our line, with a lot of gap scheme stuff rather than zone concepts, which tells you that we've got a pretty athletic offensive line. Now, with saying that, our left tackle got benched. Bird got benched. He had problems against Clemson and Penn State last year, gave up some sacks. And I thought, well, he's improved. And they were saying, well, he's better this year. Well, he got benched, had 2 holding penalties early in the game, which tells you he's getting beat. We'll see. We'll see what's going on there. But yeah, we got to run the football this week.
Okay, and now let's go to the prediction. I've given mine. First of all, we've got SMU -3. They are picked to win by 3. The over-under is 60.5. I do not have them going over. I've got the under, and I've got Baylor covering. I've got it a close one, 28-27 there. I've got this one coming. I think this game is going to be very tight, which I think even the line showed it was going to be very tight. I'm a little worried with what you're telling me about your starting linebacker and wide receiver, but I'm pulling for my Mustangs at home here.
Yes.
I think they're going to pull it out. What do you think of that?
I hope they do. I really hope they do, and I hope we get off to a fast start. This is so many times these games are won and lost in the second half.
Yeah.
We'll see. We got to get off to a good start. Going to have them at home. We had the biggest student body crowd there, the biggest student section crowd that we've ever had in Ford Stadium history the other night. So they were full, and I was very pleased with the crowd. The smallest crowd we had last year was 27,000. Our stadium only holds about 32,000.
Yeah.
So this will be a jam-packed Ford Stadium.
I'm sure it will be.
Yeah, and I think when did I see that stat the other day? We've won at home the last 2 or 3 years. We just don't lose at home. SMU hasn't lost at home the last few years. So that's. Hey,
is this a home and home? Do y'all go to Baylor next year?
I'm not sure. I need to look and see. I'm not sure.
Well, hey, hats off. Hats off to schools that are playing other Power 5 schools in the preseason. I like it. It's one of the big games this week. I don't care. I know Baylor's not they're picked to come in 5th, but they're a good team no matter what. I just think that I like seeing Power 5 schools play other Power 5 schools. I don't like what I see out of schools that get these FCS schools in here and just run them up on them. Although that's okay. It happens. But you know what? You can do that if you're putting another Power 5 school into your preseason schedule before you hit conference play, because you're not going to get any better until you start playing some competition. That's the way I feel.
What's interesting is that in non-conference play, the ACC is playing 8 more Power 4 schools than any other conference. Yep. So, I agree with you. I like to see that too.
I'm glad to see this one. Well, there's my prediction on it, Scott. Listen, I know your week's busy. I'm going to see you this Saturday, I'm pretty sure. I'll let you know if I'm not. Otherwise, I'll look for you hanging around there.
And by the way, just I looked it up. Yes, we do go to Baylor next year. We'll be on September the 19th, I believe it is, next year in Waco.
Well, guys, listen, we're going to end this one. I'm going to stop the recording here. We'll have Baylor coming up pretty quick with Garrett Ross, who's going to join us from Sikkim 365. He'll be on here. We'll look for that video also. Plus, I got to give Scott the answer to that trivia question here in just a second when we stop recording.
I'm sure people are wanting a prediction from me about the game, but let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Did Tom Landry ever make a prediction about the Cowboys that wasn't the Cowboys?
No, he never did.
Tom Landry show. I'll never pick against the Mustangs.
I know it. Of course not. But hey, I'm the neutral one here. I'm a Texas fan. I've got a son that goes to Texas. I have SMU pulling this out and beating this. I have it closer. I would have probably picked that more. I did like some of the stuff I saw with Baylor. But you know what? Rhett Lashley is my guy. I'm telling you right now, I've got him as the best coach in the Texas FBS in all of Texas. I do. I like Rhett Lashley and what he does.
And I'll say, hey, he overachieved last year. The highest draft pick we had was the 5th round. That was Elijah Roberts. Got drafted in the 5th round, and every other team that made the playoff had somebody way higher than that. That's coaching, and that's overachieving.
Absolutely. All right, guys, well, we're going to get out of here. I appreciate Scott for joining us right there, guys. Watch this Saturday, 11 a.m. It's going to be on the CW. SMU's hosting Baylor, guys. Until next time and the next show, we will see you on the gridiron.